Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again to review Wednesday Season 1. And this video is long overdue. This is another one of those things where I didn't watch it when it came out. And now I watched it all this time later, and I'm like, damn it. Damn it. I missed the boat. I ended up in shitty land with fucking shitty-ass movies and shows that I watched. I mean, this is unbelievable how good this show was. It wasn't the greatest show I've ever seen. But it was nowhere near as bad as I expected. Because here's the thing. Tim Burton, he's a mixed bag of a director. I mean, he obviously has made some of the best movies ever back in the 80s and 90s. But ever since then, he really went downhill. And, the Dark Shadows movie is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I mean, I could not believe how bad it was when I rewatched it a couple of days ago for a commentary, which, go check that out if you want to see me suffer for 2 hours and eating a gross orange cranberry muffin from Panera Bread while watching it. And that movie was based off of, the Dark Shadow series, and so I was really worried based off of that movie that Tim Burton would not do a good job at adapting the Addams Family. I was really worried that he wouldn't do a good job of making anything to do with the Addams Family, and because I really liked the Addams Family, especially Wednesday. I mean, I always had a crush on her as a kid too. I had a lot of crushes. I had a whole book of crushes. Basically, like an imaginary, just I had a crush on her, and, Christina Ricci, she was so good in that role, and I even liked the Addams Family reunion. I bought that one on VHS, and I still have it. It's somewhere around here in these boxes. So that's why I was really hesitant about watching the show. I was also hesitant because of Jenna, overrated Ortega, playing Wednesday. I mean, I think it was just because of the movies that she was in and how I didn't like the movies. And I really think it is. And so I actually do think she's a good actress. After all that, calling her that and everything, it's such a mean nickname. She did a really good job as Wednesday Addams. I mean, this is one of those things where I think she's probably the best part of the show. I mean, the writing is mixed. Very mixed. I mean, there were some high points and there were some low points. And there was some just, in general, confusion going on with the show itself of, what it wanted to be and then, what it turned out to be, and some of the storylines that kind of felt a little rushed or a little not done very well, but I really liked the show a lot. I really liked it. It was so Halloweeny and fun, and that's the key word, I think, is fun. If you just have fun with this show, you will have fun with the show. If you put on your critical thinking cap and you're just really overly analyzing everything, it won't be as good of an experience, and so but immediately, as soon as I started watching the first episode, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be a really good show. And it just kept on being good, and then there was one episode I didn't like. I would say that the only episode of the whole season that I really didn't like was episodes 2 or 3. I can't pick one because they were both kind of like setup episodes, and they were kind of like just, seeing Wednesday in the school doing school stuff. I really didn't like the Pilgrim World one because there was so much exposition in that episode. Most of the episode was just exposition, and I really wasn't a fan of that one. But other than that, this is a fantastic show. I would highly recommend it. I can't wait for season 2. I wish that I had taken advantage and watched this show when it came out. And so let's get into some more details, because I don't want to just sound like a fanboy, which is funny because I never thought I'd be a Wednesday fanboy. But one of the greatest things about the show, and one of the things that I really, really loved, was Wednesday, and how they made her like she really is supposed to be. I mean, they don't turn her into a different character. They don't destroy her character or anything like that. They don't really do that to any of the Addams family. So, like, even though, like, maybe I wasn't a fan of one or two of those casting decisions, they did not do, like, the modern thing where, they take these old characters and they destroy them. They really did a good job at being respectful to the source material, and especially Wednesday. She was a real outsider, and, I could really identify with her character, and I really just thought, like, she's probably one of the best TV characters of all time, because she was perfect. She was absolutely perfect, because that should be the goal of the Addams family, is that the Addams family, they're outsiders, even though they're evil and creepy and weird. They love each other, and they're outsiders, and they're, considered weird by quote-unquote normal people. And so, like, anyone of any race or any sexuality should be able to identify with Wednesday, and should be able to identify with the Addams family. And they accomplished that. They accomplished that with Wednesday. She is definitely, like, one of those characters nowadays where I would say, like, yeah, like, I really identify with that character, and that's the funny thing is, I'm not a Latina woman, or at least I don't think that I am. I mean, maybe I am on the inside somewhere. I got a spicy little, Latina.
Hello, my name is Michelle, and I am going to take over now.
Okay, never mind. That was a terrible joke. So anyways, let's get the story. So let's get into some of the issues, because I do want to be fair and honest and say, like, yeah, there were some things about it that I didn't like. One of those things was the Addams family itself as a group. You see very little of the Addams family in this series, in this season. You see very little of, like, them together as, like, a family at, like, dinners or anything like that. You don't really get to see very much of Morticia and Gomez and Pugsley. And I really felt like you could, if this season was longer, because it was only 8 episodes, which I didn't mind it because I really enjoyed it, so I don't give a fuck. But if you had had, like, 1 or 2 more episodes, you could have had more time with the family. And I think that really would have helped things, because I kind of had trouble picturing them as a family. I had trouble with, like, just, I don't know, like, they just didn't really go together very well, because they didn't have very much time together on screen. I mean, the Parents' Day episode was a good episode, but it was one of the weaker episodes of the season, because it was just so, like, like, this is the Addams family? Like, I'm not going to, like, criticize, the fact that they cast Luis Guzman as Gomez, because he's a really, really good actor. But I didn't know what he was doing in this season. Like, he was pretty good in some scenes, but in other scenes, like, he was really strange with his performance. And it might just be the script and the fact that, like, he doesn't really have much to do. And then Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia. She is, she did okay. But that is not really Morticia that I know and love. You know, that is not really like the prime Morticia that, you know, we should see on screen. Like, I saw all these fucking pieces of shit on Twitter complaining that they hired that guy to play Gomez because they don't like the way he looks. But I didn't see anybody complaining about Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia. Her Morticia look is not very good. It is generic. At least Gomez's look is very unique and interesting because it looks like the old cartoon, the original cartoon, or the comic, whatever. But Morticia, I really just wasn't a fan of the Addams family as a whole, because they were very surface level. You know, it reminded me a lot of Dark Shadows, where they hired these people and just made them look like the characters, kind of, but they really didn't feel like the characters because they didn't get enough of a chance to do anything. Like, just like in Dark Shadows. You know, you had that guy in that movie who played Roger, and they just tried to make him look like that guy from the original show, but he wasn't anything like that guy at all. And then you have Pugsley, and Pugsley was like a footnote. Like, this season is basically like, fuck Pugsley, the show, because, like, he is hardly in it at all. Like, I really wish, like, just have one episode where it's just the Addams family, and you get to see them interacting together at the house, and you get to see them at dinner together, and you get to see Wednesday torturing Pugsley, because we got a little bit of that, of their dynamic, which they had a pretty okay dynamic, you know, when they had the little fishing scene. And then I love the scene that the show opened on, where Wednesday defended him against those bullies, and I really liked what she did there with the piranhas. I actually have a piranha in my room. It's a taxidermied piranha. I can't remember where it's from, but it used to be in my brother's room, and I took it for myself, and it's right there. I see it every time when I go to bed, and I look right into its eyes as I close my eyes to go to sleep, and it's pretty fun to look at. It's pretty cool. I used to put my finger in its mouth and freak out. So. But yeah, like, I just thought that was a big problem of the show, is that the Addams family was not very convincing. They were like, how would you describe it? Like wallpaper, or like a fake family, I guess. Like, they weren't too bad, though. They weren't terrible. There were a couple of other issues that I had before I go back to what I really loved, because as I said, I love the show. Another issue that I had was the fact that a lot of the show, it kind of started to creep me out, because some of the show kind of felt like they're trying to groom Wednesday into turning into a normal person. You know, like, the way that she's always like, I don't want to do that, but then she does it anyway, and then they almost make it seem like she's getting enjoyment out of it, like the way that she develops this friendship with Enid, who's, she's a character, and she's a character for sure, and, you know, the way that, she really loves being at the dance, and she loves competing in the sport, and, you know, maybe she didn't love it, you know, maybe So if someone else thinks that she didn't, then I know that she was forced to do these things so that she could complete her objectives, but it sort of felt like the writers were saying that, like, yeah, she doesn't want to enjoy these things, but deep down on the inside, she really wants to enjoy them, and she's really, like, just like anybody else, I guess. And I don't like that, because I just love how different she is and how much of a, like, outsider she is, because it's really refreshing. You know, there's so many shows and movies with these characters that you cannot identify with, because they're so normal, and they're so and I say normal as in, like, not normal, because there's no such thing as normal. You know, like, people are like the Addams family. They're not like the normies in town, you know. And so, like, I really loved the fact that her character was like that, but, you know, it really seemed like one of the objectives of the show was to force her to become normal, which is weird, because she's supposed to be at this school for monsters and outcasts. And that's another kind of weird thing, is the way that, like, you have these monsters and these creatures at the school, and they act like any other school, you know, where you have, like, the mean girl bully group, and you have clubs and extracurriculars and shit, and you have, like, love triangles, and, like, they're like any other school. So that was kind of strange to me. I don't know. I just feel like in a school with, like, monster kids and creature kids, maybe it would be more interesting if it was, like, different than normal school. Like, maybe it would be interesting if they didn't act like normal kids, especially Enid. I mean, Enid is basically like a typical girl, except for at the end of the show, at the end of the season. So, anyways, lastly, one last thing that I did not like. Oh yeah, there were some agendas too, and there is a character, and I will be doing a separate video just on the characters, of ranking them in the tier list, because I love ranking, and I really look forward to doing that video. The last thing was that this show, at certain points, I felt like it had a hard time deciding what it wanted to be because of the writers. You know, and there was a certain line in this season where Wednesday was supposed to say that she hated how much that she loved the dress in episode 4. But that line was terrible. It was awful, and she did not want to say it. So she did not say it, and she went behind the writers' backs without telling them. And honestly, like, when I first read that, I was pissed off, because I was like, look, writers have enough trouble nowadays because they suck. But, like, this isn't good either. Like, if there's a bad line, like, then work it out or whatever. But, like, after seeing this show and seeing that episode, if she had said that fucking line, that would have been the worst line in television history. So I am so happy that she did not say that damn line, because there were some lines like that this season, let me tell you. There were some lines that were like, oh my god, this is like a teen show at certain points, like some of the teen elements, because on one hand, this show was kind of like Harry Potter a little bit, like, you know, where she's like the chosen one who might burn down the school, but, you know, she's going to save the school. She's the chosen one. And then the whole thing is building up to these villains. They are resurrecting the ultimate Lord Voldemort character, Joseph Crackstone, and everything. It was so reminiscent of Harry Potter. I mean, even the stuff with, like, the sports reminded me of the Goblet of Fire competitions, you know, like the water one, the swimming one, or what was that one? I don't know, whatever the fuck that one was. That movie sucked. I don't really like the Harry Potter movies anymore. I think I grew out of them because I watched them so many times as a kid. So, and on the other hand, or I guess I already said another hand, so on one of many hands, this show also kind of tried to be like a teen love show. So you had several love triangles in this season, and let me just say, they did not work at all. I mean, there was not a single love triangle that worked in this whole show, and it's funny because this show felt more like it could have been Dark Shadows than Dark Shadows felt like, because there were so many love triangles, and it felt like this could be a soap opera, like Dark Shadows. Well, how the fuck was Tim Burton not able to do Dark Shadows after seeing this movie? You know, he got all the love triangles in this bitch. You know, you got Wednesday, and you got Xavier. Ugh. We will talk about that fucker. And then we also got Tyler, and you got a love triangle there. That was not a good love triangle because Xavier sucked you-know-what big time. You got Enid with Eugene and the random guy with the hat on, like mine, the little cap. Terrible love triangle because Eugene is in a coma this whole season. And she doesn't even care. Enid doesn't even fucking care. Like, I thought it was going to be like the cliche thing of where, like, he tried to get at her, and then she's like, nah, 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 nah. And then he gets in a coma, and then that makes her realize that she cares for him. And then at the end of the season, he comes back, he gets the girl. No. She's with that other guy, the random guy, because she likes him, and then just like Wednesday's with Tyler, she doesn't like Xavier. Of course, nobody likes Xavier at all, except for, I don't know, probably the actor who plays Xavier, because he gets a paycheck for it, and attention. And then another love triangle, which was in the Parents' Day episode, you got Morticia, Gomez, and long-haired guy. I can't remember what his name was. It was like some name. That love triangle sucked. I mean, there was no love triangle. Morticia and Gomez are soulmates, and the long-haired guy is just a he's just a loser. I mean, he wanted to be with the weakest portrayal of Morticia in the Addams family history. He was gonna kill the entire school because he wanted to be with the worst Morticia in the Addams family history. I mean, that is really sad. So, even worse than the straight-to-video one in the Addams Family reunion. I mean, seriously, that's pretty bad. Like, that was not a love triangle. And then, what was the other one? Oh, yeah. We got the mean girl. Just like in the Goosebumps show, there's no, like... There's no comeuppance for her being a mean girl. It's just like, oh, she's really sad about something, so it's okay for her to be a bully. As long as she does some good stuff at the end. You know, it's okay that she was a huge bully, and, like, who knows how many other kids she bullied in the past. Like, geez, just because she's sad about something personal, it gives her an excuse. So you got her with Xavier, and then the mayor's son, who's like one of the worst characters of the whole season because he's just a fucking nothing character. I mean, I thought he was going to do something by then, but he didn't do shit. He just disappeared into the background, like where he came from. Like, he walks into the show with the other bully friends of his, and then he just disappears with them too. And it's like, bye-bye. I didn't give a flying fuck about you anyway. That was not a good love triangle either. Because Xavier and her had this whole weird gross toxic relationship that I didn't give a fuck about, this teen drama relationship where he didn't like that she was using her siren on him all the time, and then she didn't know if he actually really liked her or something. Like, it was a really weird, like, kind of just weird thing that I just don't care about at all. And, you know, he's in love with Wednesday because he's a fucking idiot, and he's the fucking worst. We're gonna get to how shitty his character is, because I'm gonna tear him to shreds like I just tore apart my birthday cake for the second night. Just tore that slice into pieces in my mouth with coffee ice cream. It's the best. I love getting a birthday cake with mint icing and chocolate cake. And that is not what the season is going to be, though, because I'm not going to be lazy like Safi and just be like, oh, I ate this one thing today, and so that's what I'm going to give the TV show or movie that I watched today. So, that was not really a love triangle. And then she started to have some little thing go on with the mayor's son, and I was like, I don't really care at all. I don't know why this is like a part of the show, because like this is supposed to be about Wednesday and horror stuff and monsters, and instead we're seeing love triangles and school activities in the season. So the love triangle thing was an epic failure. I mean, it was a big that's what it was, okay? Just being nice about it. And so it really felt like this show, it needed to have a stronger identity. Because then also, it also felt like it was trying to be like a teenage mystery book. You know, like about like a teenage detective. You know, like Cam Jensen, you know, the girl that takes imaginary pictures. Cam Jensen sucked. I never liked reading her books as a kid. I always threw them against the wall and said, give me a good book. Shitty teacher. And so that was a big issue that I had, was like, I really didn't feel like there was a strong identity to the show. I felt like if it had more episodes, like 2 or 3 more, maybe it could have defined itself more or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that the writers, I don't know. It seems like people who write Addams Family related materials, they have a problem kind of adapting to how weird the characters are. You know, because the people who write these characters, they're not like serial killer wannabes like the Addams Family. You know, like they're quote-unquote normal people. So it seems like they're trying to fit this weird and abnormal group of people into a normal show, where and it's just like, that doesn't work, you know, because it's not normal. But there were some nice twists and turns that the show took. I really loved how many twists there were and how many times it kept me guessing, because I did not know what was going to happen, and I was really, really shocked finding out who was the bad guy and why finally, and just I was in for the ride, though. I really enjoyed that part of the show with all the twists and turns. That was one of the better things of the show, was the amount of twists and turns, as I just said. Now, I really love the dynamic between Wednesday and Tyler. And I gotta say, I gotta be nice to Tyler, because he was also on a show called Your Honor. And I had watched that before I watched the show. And it's funny, because you guys should watch Your Honor. Because on Your Honor, they have this mobster family, and they feel more like the Addams Family than the Addams Family on this show feels like. They feel like they're a perfect Addams Family. You got Gomez, the dad, the gangster dad, Jimmy. You got the wife, She looks and acts like Morticia. She is a cold-hearted bitch. She is amazing in that show. They have sexual tension with each other, especially in season 2. You got the daughter, who's like really incredibly beautiful, just like Wednesday on this show, and she's like Wednesday a lot. And also Tyler from this show, he falls in love with her too. And you have the brother, and although he's not fat, he is like a bumbling idiot. So you have a perfect Addams family there. And somehow on the Wednesday show, you don't have an Addams family. You don't have like a really fully together Addams family. So, but I really loved Tyler in this season. I really loved his character. So when he turned out to be one of the bad guys, I was really saddened by that, because I really loved the relationship between him and Wednesday. I felt like they had really good chemistry with each other, which is rare nowadays. And I just thought he was a really, really good character. I also really liked, one of my favorite things about the season was how after Eugene got into a coma, Wednesday would visit him all the time, and she would use the B place as a headquarters for her operations. I thought that was cool, because it was like she actually, cares about people who she wants to protect, people who are close to her. And then you have all these people who she kind of pushes away. And that's another thing that I like too, is the fact that, she pushes everyone away, and she's just, she gets everyone in danger. And so she really is all to herself, which is good, because I was really worried that they were going to make it to where, like, at the end she was going to be like a different character. So I really like the fact that they stayed consistent, because, like, even in the finale, she's trying to do this plan with the sirens where they torture Tyler so that he reveals himself to be a Hyde. And I really love the fact that, like, the other people are like, what? No, this is not what we signed up for. Like, this is awful even for us. Like, no, we're leaving. Bye. So I really like that too, because it shows like Wednesday is so different, and she is so weird, and she is so like unique, that she's even separate from all the other people in the school that are already separate from society. You know what I mean? So I thought that was awesome. Like the part in the finale where she's getting out the tasers, and she's like getting ready to torture him, and she puts them on. I was cheering for her. I was so excited, because I was like, good on her. Like, she's the only one in this show who's doing what's necessary. I mean, if I had something happen to me where I got kidnapped or something like that, I would want Wednesday to help me. I would want Wednesday to be the one to come find me, because, like, I would trust her to solve the mystery. Now, there is something that I forgot about, which I should mention briefly. I did think that some of the fighting was kind of cringeworthy with Wednesday, especially when she's fighting the pilgrims in the diner. I loved the idea of that happening and everything, and how, like, funny it was that she kicked their asses, but some of the fighting choreography, maybe it was the way it was filmed, it really didn't look that good to me. And then the sword fight with Gomez, and then the long hair guy in the Parent Day episode. That fight was not very good at all. And it didn't make any sense, since Gomez is a master swordsman. So that was kind of strange. And one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was Uncle Fester. One of the episodes was an Uncle Fester episode, and that one was a very good episode. But I wasn't a fan at all of Uncle Fester, this show. I really did not like the way that he chose to portray the character as like this goofy, I don't know, just something about him. I really didn't like his portrayal of Uncle Fester either. So, that's what I say. A big issue with the show is the Addams family in general, with like how they felt in comparison to their original characters, with the exception of Wednesday. Because I feel like Jenna Ortega, she did the best job with Wednesday that she could have. She did the best job that anyone could have done after Christina Ricci grew too old to play the role. I don't think that anyone else could have done what she did in the show. I really think that she did a great job. There were a couple of moments in the first half of the season where she did look a little constipated at certain points instead of looking like she's half dead. But other than that, she was flawless. She was like really, really perfection, amazing. And I was impressed. I was really like, she gave a great performance here. Why is it that everything else she's in, I'm not very much of a fan of her acting? I don't know. Like, isn't that weird? And then lastly, the last criticism that I will say, because I know that this has been a lot of criticism, and that's because, too, I'm having trouble, like, remembering all the stuff that happened and, like, what to talk about, because so much stuff happened in such a short amount of time, The last thing, though, Xavier. Xavier is the worst character in television history. I hate this character so much. The way that Wednesday felt about Enid and about her music and her whatever the fuck, how colorful she was, the way that she felt about her, that is the way that I feel about Xavier. There is no limit to the hatred, to the disgust that I have for Xavier. There is no bounds to how much I want to see this character get what he deserves by some creature on the show, or maybe for him to just get written off of the show in an embarrassing way where it's like, oh, that guy moved away. Like in the Andy Griffith show, like, that guy moved over to that city and he's doing okay. He's doing great. That's the typical thing they like to say. That person is doing great. Like in the Monk movie, where they just said that about every other character that ever appeared on the show. That person is doing great. That person is doing great. I want to hear Xavier is doing great. You know why? Because I hate this character with a passion. This girly boy, this pretty boy, girly boy guy. This character is everything I can't stand with modern Hollywood. Because although they did do a good job at painting the outsider, at reflecting upon real-life outsiders on this show, they were supposed to do that with Xavier, too, because that was his character, too. He was like an outsider painter guy who's like, he's all to himself, man, and he's got issues, and, he's perfect for someone like Wednesday, too, ooh. But they cast this girly boy guy who's like an Instagram model to play this character. And it's that typical thing of where Hollywood isn't going to cast someone who actually looks like this character would look like in real life. So they cast this like girly boy bitch guy from Instagram, like they cast Timothy Chalamet as Willy Wonka. I just can't stand this type of casting. I can't stand this type of character where he's supposed to be this outsider, and the guy that they get to play him, you can tell that he is not an outsider at all, and never has been anywhere ever. They did the same thing, of course, with, remember, The Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. They tried to make it like, oh, he's the dork in school. He's the nerdy dork, even though he's like a pretty boy model guy. That was just embarrassingly bad. And that's the embarrassment that I felt with this character. It is so embarrassing that in 2020, whatever, was it 2022 or 2021 when this came out? It is so embarrassing that in this day and age, we're still doing like the Hollywood casting cliche of like having an outsider character played by someone who doesn't even embody being an outsider. Do you know what he embodies to me? Because his character was supposed to be like, I believe, a rich guy or like related to rich people. I think so. From what I remember, because they didn't do very much of his background. But his character, he really reminded me of like a spoiled rich brat. And I hated him. I hated every single little fucking thing about this guy. I despised this character with a passion, with a burning flame passion. Everything about this character I hate. I was so irritated every single time this whiny little bitch came on screen. Wednesday, when are you gonna notice me? Wah! I hated this character. I don't understand what they were thinking with this whole love triangle thing and why they thought casting this guy to play this character was a good idea, even if it was a different guy. Even if fucking, like, let's say, who would be a good outsider character? Crispin Glover when he was a teenager. That'd be pretty funny seeing Crispin Glover on the show as a teenager, like AI. In fact, they should actually get Crispin Glover to be on the show as like a teacher or something, because he'd be perfect for the show. He's a weirdo. Someone like that. Somebody who's actually like a weird looking character. Steve Buscemi is a teenage boy. Come on. Dude, come on. Does the casting director not exist anymore? What are we doing here? Casting a girly boy twink to play this outsider painter guy, Xavier. What were they thinking with that? It's just everything about this swarmy little character. I mean, ugh. I just look at his face and I'm like, ugh, what is going on? Why did they do this? Like, every single scene he's in is he's such a desperate little twerp. Like, every scene he's just like, I want Wednesday to like me. Wah! Like, crybaby too? He's a crybaby? I'm not going to attack his looks too much, because, I mean, there's worse looking people all over the place. Especially on this show, too. You have monsters and shit. In fact, I really did love the monster in this season, the Hyde monster. I loved the design of that. It looked like a classic, like, Tim Burton monster. So I really liked that. But this Xavier guy, he's the worst thing to ever happen to humanity in history. This character. Like, I would do anything. If I was given a button, like a red button mysteriously appears in front of me, and I can do anything with that button, including solving world hunger and solving homelessness and all that kind of stuff, you know what I would do? I would erase Xavier from history on Wednesday and just forget about that ever happened. Forget about that. Forget about I want Wednesday to like me. Get that character and throw him in the trash where he belongs. So that's what I have to say about Xavier. And I also didn't like, I didn't like the sheriff dad because he was an idiot. But he was actually a really good actor, so I was fine with that. You know, there were lots of good performances this season. Like, I really loved Gwendolyn Christie as the principal, even though she was kind of like the generic, you know, authority figure who, you know, scolds the protagonist when they fall out of line. You know, that's basically all she did the whole season. Which that's something that I would criticize, is that if they had had like one more episode, you could have had like an episode where it's her and Wednesday working together, because she's a shapeshifter, and you know that's a really like strong persona to be able to have, or a strong power, I should say. And then another performance I really loved was obviously Christina Ricci as the teacher, Thornhill. She did a great job. I really thought that it was fun seeing her as the bad guy, ironically, in the Wednesday season 1. That was really fun. And I also loved, let's see, what else did I love? I love the psychiatrist, too. I mean, I was like, she might be the bad guy, but she wasn't. And, you know, it's too bad that there wasn't more of her, because she was another character who, even though she was a normal person, she had a weird look to her, and I really liked that. I don't know, there's something about that I really liked. But I'm getting into too much of the characters, because that's spoilers for the ranking of the characters. So, in general, I really enjoyed the season a lot. There were some storylines that I thought were rushed, or I thought that were badly executed. But overall, I would highly recommend this show, and I would watch it again immediately. In fact, I could watch it again right now. I think my favorite moment, if I had to pick just one scene that I really loved the most, besides the part where Wednesday is going to torture Tyler, because I thought, I want to see Wednesday do this type of stuff. Like, I want to see Wednesday cause some shit. I want to see her cause some violence and harm. I want to see her do what Wednesday is supposed to do, or wants to do. You know, like, she's a lot of talk and not a lot of walk in this season. I'd like to see her get into some business on this show, and do stuff that you wouldn't expect like a main character on a show to do, because that's her character, you know. But I think one of the moments that I would say is my most favorite was probably the part where Tyler takes Wednesday to that surprise dinner, the picnic, and he says, like, I have a scary movie, and he puts on Legally Blonde, and and she started to really get horrified by that, and I thought that was really funny and clever, and I really liked that a lot. And I'm trying to think of other things that I really liked too, because I enjoyed everything in general, so it's all kind of like, you know, mixing together. I really liked how violent the show was too. You know, it did not shy away from being violent and having lots of blood and grossness and stuff like that, and that's exactly what the show needs to have. Violence and gore and blood, you know, tastefully though, where it's not like too over the top, I guess. So yeah, I guess I gotta give it a food review now. So, in terms of food, I do not have a review yet, because I'm thinking of one right now, which is something that I actually do on a regular basis, and you know, sometimes people probably notice it a lot more than I would think. Okay, I think I have a... No, that wouldn't be a good review, would it? Okay, you know what? I'm going to do something that is probably going to piss people off, because I bet, like, maybe there's some unicorn out there who's, like, been watching since the beginning, who notices that, like, I never ever give spaghetti as a food rating. But I can't help myself. I really enjoyed the show, and so I'm going to give this show spaghetti, my favorite food, because I enjoyed it that much. So I would just say, I guess, that spaghetti is like almost like my default food. No, actually, no, I just thought of something perfect. I am going to give this show fideo, which is Mexican spaghetti. And I've only ever had it once, and it was probably the most greatest thing I've ever eaten. And it wasn't spaghetti, but it was at the same time. And it was nice and spicy, and it was like a soup. And, you know, just dipping tortilla into it was really, really delicious too. And so I have to give it fideo, because it gave me the fideo experience, where I was not expecting it to be good. I just got it because I wasn't in the mood for Mexican food at that time. And I was like, oh shit, this is actually incredible. It's like a next level amazing thing, just like this show. So yeah, I'm really excited about Season 2. I really hope that in Season 2 we get more Addams Family and more like horror stuff. And I think Jenna did say this. She did say that like in Season 2 there would be more horror and less romance stuff, which is good, because that's not really relevant to the show very much. You know, like there's not because the romance isn't very good except for Tyler and Wednesday. That was the only good romance, and they killed that off because, you know, Tyler's a monster, and he's going to be locked away forever because that woman used him and groomed him into being a monster killer for her. Really, really horrible. So I hope to see more horror, and I also hope to see more stuff with like the creatures and the monsters at school, in terms of like seeing them act more like monsters instead of just acting like other kids, because I did feel it was very strange the way that the characters, even though you had all these monster cliques, you didn't really get to see them and the way that like them being monsters, you didn't really get to see the way it affected the normal day-to-day life. Like, you saw the vampires at lunch, and I think they were all drinking blood with each other, but, like, it would be interesting to learn more about, like, the mythology of, like, these characters and the people at this school and stuff like that in Season 2. And in terms of, like, who is Wednesday's stalker, too, that was the little teaser at the end of the season. It's like, who is stalking her? I don't know who it is. I don't know. I really don't know, because maybe it'll be a new character, or maybe they just wrote that and they didn't even have in mind who it would be, because they just wanted to have a nice little twist at the end. Because, you know, in Dark Shadows, Tim Burton, apparently he did that twist at the end just to try to make it feel like the show, where the show would keep on going and going and going. So Tim Burton was so stupid making Dark Shadows that he just threw in a random twist to make it feel like a show or something. I think that's kind of shitty. So yeah, I wonder who the stalker is. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Xavier, because that character just sucks the big one. He bites the big one and sucks the big one. Fuck that fucking character. So anyways, overall, that is my review for Wednesday Season 1. I really don't have much else to say, except for I just enjoyed it, and so, you know, take that for what it's worth. When Season 2 does come out, though, I will be giving, like, in-depth reviews for each episode. You know, it'll be a lot different than this, where I definitely will get into the nitty-gritty and the details and everything as much as possible. because that's what I do. And then please subscribe to this video. I mean, what did I just say? Please like this video, comment, and tell me what you thought of Wednesday. And then also, please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews like this. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.